This is Barbell Conversations, a podcast that talks about strength, mindset, and everything else in between. I am your host, Breadfruit, otherwise known as Bearded Breadfruit on social media. In this episode of Barbell Conversations, I sit down with Rommell Marshall, a friend of mine, for a stylish yet grounded conversation on confidence, appearance, and the emotional weight men often carry behind their public image. We unpack how fashion, grooming, and fitness shape self-worth, and how these same tools can be used to mask deeper struggles. He reflects on growing up in Barbados, navigating expectations to look strong, and how gym culture and personal style can both shield a form of self-discovery. Together, we explore the silent pressure that men often face in appearing put together, even when battling internal chaos. From gym fits to the way mood and mindset can shift intentional dressing, Rommell offers insight into how style and vulnerability can coexist. This episode challenges surface-level masculinity, encouraging men to move beyond the mirror and embrace self-expression, emotional honesty, and real confidence from within. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, sometimes I feel like if people really listening to it, I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. But if people start listening to the content, they might start hearing me say things like, I hear this man a long time. It's me and this man talk. So I was getting up and insecure thinking like, this might either make it seem like I really got no friends, or everybody busy and doing the thing, I guess stuff, work, and stuff. So I hope it's a lot of, right? I hope like people listen to this and be like, yo, like, time this man pull a guest in man and say that you want to hear this man a long time. Me and this man chop it up in a long time. But truthfully, like, sitting down like this, I feel like me and you ain't chop it up in a long time. Yeah. So if we go back to like, and if people like follow fitness and stuff or follow your pages as much, they will understand why we say that or why I say it like that. Because obviously the closeness that we had and stuff before. So if people know coming on to the trend and know seeing me and you in a space, they will see like recent things. Mm-hmm. So that being said, it's been a minute before me and you chop up thing, and I just want to introduce my friend Rommell, not normal. Yeah. But that's my introduction so far. But you could like spruce it up a little bit more, right? Like, give people a little like, give people like a little introduction and say what I don't know what you're doing.
Well, I'm just doing me, pal.
Promoter, content creator, dancer. Dancer. Yeah.
Shoot. Fashion enthusiast, fitness enthusiast, sports enthusiast, and I mean enthusiast in the true sense, not just somebody.
This man is a Lakers.
No,
he's a Lakers. So.
Not Lakers. Not Lakers. Just the king.
Just the king.
Yeah, but Luka is a vibe still.
Listen to me, right? I can show you something like, but obviously I kind of got excuses now. I've been so out of basketball. Like I would pull up my phone one time. Obviously not recently. This would have been when the draft happened and when the trade happened, and then shortly after, was it? I missed draft there. All right, me try to follow like a little regular season. Miss regular season. All right, we try to hop back on. I quit. So I see Luka. It was like Luka Lakers. I was like, what? I was like, when did that happen?
Listen, brother, so then my friends when that happened in my age, and he might had a hat there with the Lakers logo but upside down. And I said, this is perfect. Because the Lakers now turn the whole basketball
turn everything upside down.
So I couldn't left that hat there. I had to get it because that Luka AD trade was crazy.
But I just want to like interject, right? And you ain't gonna say nothing and you can't say nothing because this ain't about basketball.
Right.
But for the fans or people that are listening, at heart, at core, I'm a Kevin Durant fan. And before we get into anything, everybody had this whole spiel about Kevin Durant and Warriors trade, and this is a super team. I can just leave it right there. I can just leave it right there.
Because they're talking basketball.
Yeah, because Luka, LeBron, and all them other little men would sound like a very big super team to me. Because I do not rate Anthony Davis, and I can't rate this goal or whatever. I already said that out front, and we could have that discussion in another forum that relates to sports.
All right.
This, however, is not that.
Okay.
But people talking about super team, a Luka and a LeBron teaming up.
I mean, when you made me talking basketball IQ, it's crazy for real.
That's super team to me.
But it still got to work on the court. It look good on paper, but it got to work on the court. Look at KD and Booker. That was supposed to be a super team. But as you said, we ain't talking basketball, so you left that in.
There's no playoff start.
And there's no KD.
I seen the playoff numbers next to his name. That's like, that's easy.
So yeah, you know. But that's me in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're running up and down, I can follow it. Like I just find that from small, I just like being active. People are booking friends with me. I bored, dropping sleep. You just give me anything to do running about activity. I locked in. I locked in. And if I'm good at it, when I first start, believe I'm decent within a week. So once it's activity, it's me.
So like I would tell everybody that come on to the space, and I would say they're doing pretty okay. A few guest shows in now. This would probably be, I think, the 4th or the 5th. Probably the 4th guest, 5th episode type of thing. By the time this come out, that's probably what the numbers will be. But everybody kind of had the same type of, like, I don't want to say introduction, but like a same understanding of what this space is, right? And just to be on a realer note, is like couple years it was like looking at the news and what's not, and just seeing like the stuff that happening in Barbados society when it comes to young men, right? And as a man, as a trainer, as a no father, brother, all these things standing into like masculine and stuff, like it started to like do something to me, right? And the only avenue that I really think that I had, or that I have, so to speak, is fitness. Coming up with the podcast was a way to do that, because people don't necessarily see the vulnerabilities when it comes to like what we put into training and stuff like that. They want to see like the output. And I think sometimes even people or men outside the gym space to start to cast again, not to like make it seem like, oh, that man just want to like look buff and look pretty and shit. Right. But yeah, still outside the gym, all this madness happening. So in a nutshell, it was like, I really got like this love for fitness, but I myself dealing with like a lot of things mentally. You know what I mean?
Completely understood, bro.
But then it's like, somebody else gotta be dealing with something mentally, and then when these men deal with something else mentally, like this is the avenues that them is turning to. Not a gym, not like, you know what I mean? Like not nothing constructive. But every now and again you can see somebody, you know, fall.
We are conditioned to, the only emotion we are allowed to show is anger.
There you go.
You understand? So
and I feel like that's the underlying.
We might feel sad, and that coming out as anger. You understand? And that is our reality. Any other emotion we as men show, unfortunately, is labeled as bitchy, feminine, right?
Yeah.
So let me stick a pin there, cause we ain't get there yet.
Take your time, brother.
You understand? Do you do? Let me get on the road.
We can stick up in there, but still turn it in. I find that in the fitness space, there are men from all like, different strings, or you call it like this tapestry, or like that imagery, right? And everybody intertwined in the fitness space, they got some other element, right? Like we not just into fitness.
Correct.
I had Thorn on, he into dance. I had Simon Pipe on, he's a musician. I had my other mentor on, he's a, so I like to like link it back. But what I find, probably not the hardest thing to link, but still not necessarily like, people will see hand in hand, is like linking fashion with fitness, right?
Yeah, it does link. And it comes.
Here's how I think it links, or here's kind of like my question, like, because it's like fashion and fitness is still in a way how you put to the public, and to more importantly, like I think I try to like delve in behind that to see like how you feel and how that would mean and how that would look for you showing up and presenting yourself.
Presenting myself, okay. At the end of the day, everything ties in because it comes under the bracket of confidence. You understand? Not in every case how you look on the outside is how you feel on the inside.
Right.
But I am damn sure it is a major difference when you look the best you can. You understand? For me, growing up, you understand, I was always active.
Right, you said that.
I was always active. However, I didn't have that look. I didn't look like an athlete.
When you said that, okay.
I didn't look like an athlete. You understand? Because I was well fed. You know? Always eating.
So little chubs.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like fast food, so you're eating. And yeah, you're running about, but nothing happening. You're looking the same way because there's no offset.
Right.
You understand? What you're putting in, you might be burning, or you might still be putting in more than what you're burning because even though you're active. And get so deep into this, I lost track. But again, they tie in because it has to do with confidence. Look your best self, you can feel your best self.
You could get lost track as much as you want, but I can pull out like different things.
Different nuggets that you're like, okay,
yeah, you just do that.
Yeah, but I grew up in a time of red men. And
right.
I love my mother to death. My mother is the best mother she could have been to me. But growing up viewing other people's relationships with their mom, right, I necessarily didn't have life spoken into me like that.
Right.
So I didn't have like a footing of confidence to work with like that. You understand? That was never spoken into me like that. You understand? To the point that I know when I was younger, I used to question my mother's love to me. What do I do? Why don't I get this?
Right.
You understand? But then obviously you get a little older, you learn that's just my mother. All right? So I say all that to say, like, it was very little confidence I had coming up. But on the outside, people looking in at me, saying this man is full of himself, he feeds all that. And I both here struggling, dog. You understand? I got friends, I short as well, I'm 5'8". You understand? I short, I come up anytime a red man in the body and looking at me again overlook.
Right.
But still, the buzz that I hearing is that I full of myself. And I cannot get it figured out. And I can tell you the day that I became full of myself was the day that I dived into fitness. You understand? But before we get there, there was also a point in time that I went the opposite direction, feeling bad, lacking confidence, and then getting beat down by the outside public saying, this man he's all that. Because I tapping into fashion. Because even though I don't feel my best, I dress in because I trying to feel good and to do something that makes me feel worthy. That's the word.
That is the word.
You know
well, I can't say if it's the word for you, but it's definitely a link word I got here, right? Because it's like, there's elements of fitness, or the reason I can just segue to why I got in and then get back to the points that you're making. The reason I got into fitness additionally, it was because of like low self-esteem or lack of self-worth, right? And I see that in fitness and in fashion, the way you present yourself, the two ways they present yourself, there's like a connected, low self-esteem, low sense of self-worth, low, unaccessible, or not being able to access that vulnerable part of yourself because like you just feel like worthless, or you just feel like useless, right? And I think I can't say it for sure, for certain, like it definitely says something about a person if they spend all their time in the gym or if they spend their time like in the clothes or fashion or whatever. I think before, and we can get into that later too, it was like maybe like a mindset I had that I had to change over time. But obviously hearing you speaking now, it's like it seems to be so much more beneath the surface when it comes to the way you present yourself and the way how you feel.
Yep.
Right?
So as I was saying, like, you made a point earlier when you said that people only seeing the end result and that these men just want to look good, these men just want pretty up, blah, blah, blah. But there's got a turn that it can make. which I think is more detrimental than this one. And I don't think this one's detrimental at all. But I made a turn early in life where you just say, fuck it. You know, I just tired of that outside noise. So I stopped dressing up.
Right.
I stopped putting on, I started looking for clothes. I just jeans, t-shirt, pair of shoes. And that made me feel worse.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I let that outside noise essentially bottle me in from what I was already good at.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the, like, I don't understand why we're like that as people. You understand? We would know.
It's definitely a culture thing when it comes to Barbados too, right? Because like a lot of people don't necessarily see, a lot of people don't necessarily associate men a lot. Well, I can't say it. I can't speak for stats, right?
You're telling the truth.
Based on like, if you just like from a visual or from like a just objective standpoint, like I don't think the Bajan society likes to tie in men and fashion.
They don't.
Right? It's a more universal concept in my
like,
opinion.
bro, it is so crazy that I think a lot of men are still afraid to tap into fashion because it comes here with the label gay. Yes. It's full of yourself or gay.
So you think Barbados is still a homophobic society?
Very, very much so. Very, very, very much so. To the point that I found myself timid to be friends with gay guys because of it. At a point in time. Not no. Definitely not no. Something I had to grow to. You understand? Because why not? That's a hashtag I use every time I do a post.
Right.
Why not? Because I live by it.
All right.
Why not?
Since we're talking about fitness and fashion and stuff, I really want to ask this and then dive into like saying more heavy. So you're into fashion now,
yes.
Right? You're into fitness now.
Yes.
You got your own brand and stuff and you're rocking and I applaud you for that.
Supporting local brands 100%.
Correct. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what you got to do.
You want to shout out your local brand now? Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Guava Club.
Shout out.
Plug me in.
Shout out our boy.
You know?
That's the shirt I wear now. I can make sure that we get a little picture and stuff. We can shout out these guys. Hearing all that, seeing all these things, and before we get back into like the heavy topics, if you had a pick, this is just like explorative now, and you get to be as creative as you want right now, right? If you had to pick an outfit inside of your wardrobe currently, right, down to shoes, everything, saying that would make you feel like, you know, you talk about the confidence and lacking confidence, right? You talk about self-worth and all that stuff. So let me say right now, outside noise shut off, right? If you had to pick an outfit that makes you feel like the most confident, the most like, put together, head to toe, what that would be? You
want to know what the fit would be?
Yeah.
I don't want to know. Like, there's nothing in my closet right now that I would not put on and feel 100% great. It's how I can pair it. You understand? It's just, what's the event I'm going to? Right? And this is something that I've witnessed.
You think that answer is a bit, like, you think people see that answer is a bit narcissistic, like, he's still fearful of himself?
I am not sure. I will hope not. I will hope that they understand that over time, because I'm into fashion, I have seen that I could put together and even help friends put together, like, I style people. That's something I recently started doing that I also I didn't think I was capable of doing. And down to women, I've started styling. You understand? So it's not me being cocky or narcissistic or anything. It's the reality of the situation. Like, I can go in my closet now and pick an outfit for you, pick an outfit for even him.
That's how me. You are, yeah.
That's me. I've been buying and stocking up on clothes from the time I was 15. Shoes down to shoes. And I carry my shit. So my shit still look good.
What started that though? Like, was it started just because you felt about yourself? Is it or
no? A lot of the beating down on myself again was throughout living life here,
right?
And being overlooked again. I'm a basketball fan.
When you say here, you mean in Barbados? So you live somewhere else?
Yeah, I live in Toronto for a bit.
Toronto.
Yeah, and it's a completely different experience.
You found your sense of fashion over there?
It was influenced. Heavily influenced by music videos. Because
like looking at the way that you dress, you can say that it's kind of like obviously not Bajan.
Yeah, thing,
I guess it would be. I haven't been to Canada as yet, but I could say it seems like it's influenced by North American,
even
types.
London.
Yeah.
It depends on the event and the mood.
Okay.
To be honest, like,
so what style you like?
I like urban. I like it a lot, but you gotta know when and where still with fashion. I can't show up to a wedding in an urban fit, so you gotta know that. Well, you gotta dress pants or too, man. That's why I tell you for certain, any event, I have a fit there that can make me feel good. And I've created relationships with people that if I don't have the piece, I could get the piece. You understand? So to answer your question, it's going to be something
still
because there's still elements of myself that I cannot change that are still insecurities. They're still there because I believe that my forehead is big. I like to hide my forehead. I believe I present as my best self when my forehead is hidden. That's what I believe. That's why I have on.
So it would be true to say that pieces of your fashion and whatever is still kind of like focused around low self-esteem, self-worth.
Correct.
That's something you admit to yourself readily.
Yeah. That's the best way to work through it.
That's the best way to work through it.
Yeah. Admitting that it's there. Like, I can't say it's not there. But I do what I can to create balance. Everything in life is balance.
Somebody might hear this and argue that if you have it there, then, because in one of the earlier podcasts I did, we ran through a guy, Simon Pike, who would have been, through different things in life. And one would have been like drug addiction, right?
Okay.
And in that, we were talking about like these 12 steps and stuff to like recovery in a sense, right? One thing that stood out is obviously like being accountable.
Right.
But not trying to draw it back to every element of that, but just certain things that popped up. Somebody listening to this might say, like maybe owning up the fact that you actually have the big forehead or whatever might be a way to not necessarily balance out, but overcome the self-worth, the low self-worth or the low self-esteem.
I can agree with that.
Before wearing the hat, you know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not saying every fit is going to have a hat.
I'm not saying that.
I'm saying that I cannot leave home without a hat. That's not what I'm saying at all. You asked me to present as my best self.
Got you.
And I'm just saying to you, I feel most confident
when I have
a hat. I don't feel not worthy when I'm not wearing a hat.
Right.
It's not that at all. But if you ask me, how am I going to present as my best self?
What about the shoes?
That could turn either way. That could turn either way.
If you had to choose a favorite shoe
in my closet right now, oh my gosh, I love a Jordan 4. So probably my Tenders, my favorite shoe right now. If it's not that, is the Jumpman Jacks.
Sweet.
Yeah, all Jordan. As a LeBron man, still all Jordan.
You mentioned earlier about Bajans and the society being slightly homophobic. You think that after seeing over the last couple of years, especially yourself and some other guys that kind of blew up more on social media, especially local social media, in fitness and in fashion, you think that men now feel more comfortable expressing themselves?
Oh, for sure. Most definitely. I can tell you from my experience what made me realize, like, hey, men tapping in. Right? Probably 5, 6, 10 years ago maybe. And I go to an event, I used to feel overdressed. You know what I'm saying? I look around and see a man in a simple button up, maybe plaid, long slacks, and some loafers. And I go on the most.
Right.
Now in 2025, I step out and sometimes I feel underdressed. Because men are cool.
Right.
You understand? And it made my heart smile. It'd be like, this is what I wanted to see. This is what I needed to see. Because now I feel comfortable again. Like I have a community of people that's tapping into fashion now. So I could be flat out just me in the fashion world. Because I can admit, I still hold back. In a sense, I still
in terms of
how much I do with an outfit, or how eclectic I get with an outfit. Like I got a crochet waistcoat. that I'm struggling to put on. You understand? But men coming out, and I'm talking about straight men coming out in some cool fits in whatever color. And it's not just, and all right, let me tell you how bad this thing was, right? I had a lifelong friend at the point in time. This is the only time that me, he was real tight. We'd have been everywhere. I can't remember if you remember this outfit, but we went to Tipsy a year, right? And I had on, let's call it a rainbow colored, because on the beach, so the beach pants.
I remember.
A rainbow color, white tank top. Outfit cool to me. So I post this picture. Brats, and I put 2 rainbows on the side, because again, the pants is a rainbow pants. And men that I have known for years, 2 of them, dive in my DMs, saying, wait, a man crossover? From a pants, bro?
So 2 questions pop in my head when I say this, and I hope I can articulate it as best as I can. So, 1, you mentioned the crochet, vessel was not is there anything then, because now you say that, is there anything that is too expressive when it comes to your style, or are you willing to I don't want to say be adaptive, but I guess that could be the word too, be adaptive to style and trends and try to use something to fit it into what your statement style would be? Yeah,
you're asking if I still feel boxed in?
Feel boxed in, or if it's maybe you definitely won't wear that because it's associated with this, so you definitely won't wear that, or do you just see clothes now as
clothes
are just fashion?
That's just fashion.
You could wear it, even down to the same rainbow pants.
Yeah, don't, because I wear it again. Because there was a point in time after that I fold it up and put it in the back of my closet and say, nah, I can't touch that again.
So your next question coming off of that would have been, how much of your appearance would reflect how you emotionally, mood-wise, confidence-wise? Because I typically am not, and I said this in previous episodes and stuff, and I try my hardest to get back out in the space where I used to be and operate from, or maybe to a greater scale. But typically I'm not one to be in heavy on social media and trends, right? But it would be so, it'd be wrong for me to say that looking at social media posts, and even posting stuff myself, or seeing the reactions that it may get, it'd be wrong for me to say that it never played a part in the way that I either 1, try to present myself again, or 2, try to change something about myself, or it started to get to me a little bit. I say all that to say somebody reach out to you and stuff, and you find yourself being
reluctant.
Not reluctant, but swayed by the comments and stuff that people would speak on, or drop comments on.
No, not the community too strong now. Yeah, the community
but before the point where you wouldn't even wear a piece again is real.
That I don't think it will ever happen again. It will have to be because of how it fits me.
Right.
Nothing to do with what label might come with it anymore.
So you feel you own that now?
Yeah, I good with that because I know me. All right. If how simple-minded do you have to be to label somebody based on just an outfit or what they decide to put on? That don't make any sense to me. And I was upset at myself for even letting it box me in to begin with. I was like, why let her do that to me? You understand? And to know that my father was also a very fashionable man. So he had me in some fits from young. So I believe that's how I get like this. You understand? It's just something about putting on a fit even to the gym that just made everything easier.
I know you lost your dad a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And condolences to you and that, especially your uncle. I know that they were prominent figures in your life. But before we started talking, you mentioned your mom. But I'm glad I brought up your dad because becoming a father now started to like show me a lot of things, right? Try not to get too emotional before we get down to like, the nitty gritty of what it's supposed to be about.
Right.
But I definitely had issues growing up with my dad that were unresolved for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And after finding out that my girlfriend was pregnant, it started to like, well, then and times before, I started to like really like reel back on how I present myself on social media. I started to take a step back from posting. I don't know when the last time I post right now, but from all that, and I was like really like delving into. Again, people don't have to do this. It's just something that I was doing, but I was just trying to delve into like the impact that he had on my life, where I am now in life, where I'm about to be, and if it's something that I need to like reconcile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say all that to say, bring it back to full circle. In the beginning, you mentioned how your mother was in terms of like giving or embracing or showing you that she loves you.
Yeah.
Still sticking a pin on the hope you could follow. When we first started talking, and we started talking about all the things that are going on in society, and I think statistically, people may disagree, but statistically, these men that lead these emotionally charged, very angry, very aggressive type behaviors tend to come from single parent households that are led by women, right? All that to say, what is the relationship like when it comes to you and your dad in terms of, were you able to receive the love from him that you didn't receive from your mom? Yes.
All right. And again, the way society was painted back then had me a little confused too.
Confused why?
In terms of the affection I was getting from my father.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? I remember a time my father kissed me on my cheek when I was in primary school. I had to cringe a little bit. Oh, do I?
I can't get enough of kissing my son on his cheek.
I understand that, no. But I'm telling you how society had me in the brain at that point in time. This ain't supposed to be happening. It's not normal. It's a man thing. What's going on? But I found, or I learned, that's okay. It's more than okay. It is what we as men need. And the fact that I wasn't really getting that from my mother, and truthfully, I believe that's why my mother and my father worked for the length of time they worked, because he was the affectionate one, whereas she was just the standoffish in her corner type woman. And that's just her. That's just her persona, right? And I realized that I'm a lot like her in that way. Even in any relationship I've been in, I'm not a very hands-on type of guy. I mean, it's come back to bite me in the ass, but I've learned to express that and say, well, this is me and this is why, and I gotta make a conscious effort to do these things. So if I fall off, a little reminder, ain't too bad to just remind me, hey, look, I need some loving, But that's not what we're talking about. So cross that off.
mean, it kind of is.
Right?
Theme of this, I know you're about to make a point, but the theme of this little season I'm in, and if this podcast continues, then people will actually see like where my mind is when it comes to like this whole thing unfolding. But this initial theme was vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
I started this off with bringing to the forefront, not necessarily my whole life story, but bringing to the forefront that for me to get to the next step that I want to be in life, there's some things that I need to like uncover, right? And that is the fact that feeling or having been loved or whatever coming up, it didn't feel as you just quoted, it didn't feel like that. I feel like, something is wrong if I have affection in a certain way. Something is wrong for me to like to portray or to give or share affection in a certain way. Correct. So then I find myself in a box where you either going with the flow and doing things that most men doing, or then you're like isolating and then you're not doing anything. Then all of a sudden you just become like this confused person growing up in life, not knowing how or when to like.
Sound real familiar.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Most men seem to say it sounds familiar. Yeah. So if it sounds familiar, like how do you change it, right? Because obviously you can't have another generation of boys growing up not knowing what it is to feel love or to give love. You know what I mean? So say that to say like what you were saying isn't necessarily away from what it is.
I got you.
Definitely
that's what we're talking about. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I can't remember where I was going with it now, to be honest.
Well, answer this. Most of the conversation I had before was like asking men to describe masculinity, right? Or to describe what it is to be a male. If you know how to like position fashion and fitness in your mind and like merge it to them from what your experiences are. You ever felt like pressure to look strong or feel strong even when you don't necessarily feel that way?
I can't say that I felt pressure to feel strong. That's not the way I would word it.
How would you word it?
I would say it feels as though as a man, you are loved as much as you can provide.
Go on.
Me?
I follow, but go on.
Follow me? Your value is solely based on what you can provide and when you provide it and how you provide it. That's the extent.
Is this value only in relationships when it comes to women, or you find this value in all aspects?
Again, life is full of experiences. So you can encounter snakes. So that can be the reality of the snake world. Right? But if you have a real one, if you say A, you gotta say B. So I can't say it's across the board. But as it relates to relationships, and I'm not speaking on recent relationships or anything, I'm just talking on past, how it would feel in the past.
Right.
Like, just up until you could provide, that's it. That's your meter of love as a man. You understand? So if you are unable to provide home, you're unable to provide food, you're unable to provide a nail do, ain't nothing for you, bro. Like, you and a man, I remember telling myself at a point in time, because COVID hit us all. You know how we was rocking before COVID. As I tell you, we coming through the ranks. You know when we was stunting. You know when bank account to look good. You understand? And then COVID do what it had to do. Right. So I remember being in that position saying, well, realistically, I do not think I'm in a position to date. Because, like, what you gonna do?
Right.
But that's inaccurate. Like, you're to love a person for a person's character. Right? And not only how they present themselves visually, but how they present themselves on a daily basis.
You find that in fitness and in fashion, especially when it comes to relationships and whatnot, like you would tend to, how do I want to word this? I mean, everything is kind of tied in, so it seems like some of the questions seem redundant.
Yeah, I know.
By the end of the day, it's like, when you find yourself in relationships, would you then also, in a field relationship or whatever, seek out fitness and fashion more so to mask the insecurities that you have when it comes to said? Get what I mean? Because it's like, let me see if I can like put it in an example. People like to say, and it's very common on social media, that one of the most dangerous men in the gym is a man that comes to the gym after having a heartbreak. Because like he can go like all in, he can work your hardest, he can try to like make himself look better in a sense, so that the ex or whoever that was before could then look on now and be like, he kind of made himself into something, right? And it's funny because I think at one point in life I find myself doing it before like necessarily like noticing. And even if you haven't noticed, like something like kind of like spurs on like this full on burst, like, you know, like I need to get better, I need to be better, I need to do better because, you know what I mean?
Okay, let me see if this story helps answer the question. Right?
Go on.
So, picture it, Sicily, 1988. I just kidding. But crop over 2016, I think it was. I know it's not relationship based. Understand? I believe. Did you jump with me? You jumped with me that year? I know Chuck jumped.
Probably. I think we all did.
We all did?
I think so.
This is not the year when the man was in farming, or this is a year in front.
Yeah.
Right? So we going on the road now. And this is my first canoe day. I've never jumped before. So it's either 2015 or 2016. I jump in with Zulu. And I'm not Again, active, playing basketball. Jumping that year?
Yeah.
Yellow pants?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. No, I find...
Jumping Zulu, I think that's the year that kickstarted my fitness journey. That's when it ended up.
On the road, on the ground.
Yeah, on the ground.
Okay, good. Good. Because that's the year.
Know your story,
that's the year that kickstart mine as well.
Yeah, I can see my ribs and everything.
Okay, but mine's that opposite.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I remember taking a picture with some other dancers because I danced that year for Zulu. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember taking some pictures and I looked like a breadfruit in a rose vine, dog.
It's breadfruit, so already.
No disrespect, right? But if a breadfruit in a rose vine, dog, it gets stick out, it gets stand out.
Right.
You understand? And not in a good way in that situation, right? That was point one. That was strike one. I was like, shit, I don't look good.
Yeah.
You understand? And I go and jump in and, you're trying to enjoy yourself. And I realize that when I'm trying to dance on young ladies, I feel like my name is Idris because I getting bare elbows off of me. Or again, they look back, they look, and they walk away.
Right.
You understand? So that experience is what made me tell myself, nah, it can't be me again. To the point that it changed two things in me.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer go out and try to dance on women because of that experience. If you're my friend and I know you, I will dance on you. If you come for a dance, I will give you a dance. You know, bad blood, but no. I tired to Elvis now. But 2017, no.
Right.
I was a different going down. And you was there. Man in farm. You come from small, get big. I come from big and lean down. You understand?
Mm.
And it's a different story. We enjoying ourselves trying to do snaps. And women coming in the man snaps, no. I walk in minding my business and women coming bending over in front of me.
Right.
For years now since then that I jump. And this has been the experience. But you telling me at all though? You understand? So of course it's going to tie into confidence. Cause check, the flip. Ain't just how I feel, but it coming out in real life. I'm living it. From being scorned.
You see, I agree too. But to play devil's advocate, the same year, and maybe like a year or 2 years before that, I think I was kind of at my lowest. And being at my lowest, I don't necessarily, or me personally, I wasn't necessarily carrying myself with confidence.
There you go.
I still think it's something that I'm working on currently. Fitness definitely has helped. But I wasn't my most confident self the year that we were speaking about when I was like laying on the floor. And that picture like circulated internet. So it kind of like came back at me in 4 waves, right?
Yeah, I feel. So
I say that to say, maybe confidence is in a way that not only that you present yourself, but the way that you carry yourself. Because even though you didn't look like everybody else, maybe you weren't carrying yourself with the confidence to but who's to say? Like it could go. I think it could go both ways.
Yeah, it could go both ways.
If somebody has to look at you, no, and hearing all the things that you said, and I know you mentioned your self-worth and stuff that happened in childhood, obviously not knowing you as a person and having I guess assumptions, you know what I mean? Like everybody make assumptions of me, people make assumptions of you, people make assumptions of us before or whatever. But people don't know you and they say, they heard about yourself, worth and what's not. Is there something else that people would not know that you battle with? If they just you don't have to share if you don't want to.
Again, I believe we all have insecurities, right? And I think what makes us men now, or women for that matter, is working on the ones that we can work on and just accepting the ones that we can't work on. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a fan of my height.
I can't change that. Right.
But I accept it. I wish I was 6'1", 6'2". I feel if it was that height, I'll probably be some sort of professional athlete. Probably, I don't know.
Right.
But with my work ethic, as you can see, men in the gym, once there's a goal, the goal is met and surpassed and then the post is always moving. So that means we dedicated to this thing. No, you add $1 to that. What can happen? You understand where you're coming from? You making $1 off of this. it could only double or triple that drive.
Right.
You understand? And then another thing that I would say that I just had to accept is my complexion. Again, it come up any time I read, man. Jordan, Wesley Snipes, Tay Diggs, and man put black men, dark skinned men, penny ma.
Right.
And it done live a good little life before them men start popping off. So understand. So yeah, that would be the two things: my height, my complexion. That people probably wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just from looking at me, they'll tell you, so, man, he good, yeah. He got it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But them know that daily, like, shh, I could do it 2 inches though. Could do it 4 inches.
Is it still, apart from the height, you still find yourself thinking that maybe it should be like a couple of years later?
They're filters for that. But nah, I good for the most part. I remember there was a point in time that I'd only date light skinned women because I didn't want my children to go through what I went through. The tar baby, the blacker than midnight, you know, them kind of things. I didn't want that for my kids.
That's something that happened to you in childhood?
Yeah, for sure.
School days?
Yeah. And then I had acne bad, so, you know.
I mean, we all had like a period. I think it's funny because I don't think men go as far back to think about how, because people look at children and be like, you know, children are so honest and so raw when it comes to the expressing what they feel and what they think, right? And people won't go as far back to think, you know, like, children could be mean too.
For sure.
Some of the things that are said could stay with you for a long period of time. And I think it's very admirable that you could admit that, even though somebody looking in and might say, well, you really should be comfortable in your skin. But it's hard to be comfortable in your skin when, like, you had years of, you know what I mean?
Just beating, don't beat.
Even just in your skin, like, it's just in everything, right? So I in therapy, right? And I think that's a theme that I've been knocking on for this. Again, this is not like to tell anybody that hear this, go and seek therapy. Like, I'm in no position to tell anybody that you need therapy. I know that there are things that I was dealing with that I needed to seek out, right?
Got you.
And I actually had a session yesterday. So we had like a little experiment exercise type thing where I had to like keep going back and keep going back. And it was funny to me. Not really funny, but just because of how you mentioned it, he would always ask me, when was your earliest memory of, you know what I mean? And as much as over the years, I remember sitting down and having a conversation with my girlfriend recently, and it was like, a lot of my childhood, I just like shut off. Mm-hmm. And if you ask me to go back and think about it, I can't tell you because I don't know what happened in my life post 21. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, obviously that's a lie, but I mean, like, you know, certain things just come like in very, like, what's the earliest memory of XYZ? Or how do you feel? I was like, bro, you talking about secondary school, going in primary, coming out of primary school. And he was like, yeah. Just tell me, take your time. And all of a sudden, like, clockwork, like, you're just feeling like these little small things creeping back up. This person said this person did that. This person told me that I was going to be this. You know, and then all of a sudden, though, it starts to, like, change the narrative. I was like, this is, like, all the traumas don't happen, like, in the last 2 years. Like, you don't see the finished product of a person because you're going through all these years with somebody telling you. One thing that stood out for me, right, is that in my family, and I can say this now, but I ain't calling the names or anything, but years past, it was mentioned that it was going to be like a woman beater. So, like, yeah.
Wow.
So it's like, and I can tell you this, go flow in the road space. I okay with saying it no, because when people look at me no, they'd be like, I remember yesterday, me and my girlfriend walked through Very Smart, costless, babies in hand, da-da-da-da-da. That's such a lovely couple. I just going in, and it felt good. She had on a shirt that said happy. I walk around like, well, the black version of the shirt. You can see, like, you know, this my lady's lift, da-da-da-da-da. And I got my little man on me, you know what I mean? And everybody was like, y'all look good. And then yesterday I also had therapy. Yesterday in my therapy session, I had to rehash the fact that growing up, somebody told me that in my life I was going to be a woman beater. And here I am in a relationship that people could look at and be like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So say what I say, like,
Not sure.
people don't.
Fuck them, bro.
People don't realize, like, how let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And to think about it, like, to think about skin and to think about your color and your height. And people looking at stuff like this and be like, that's so trivial. Like, I had to rehash lifetime memories for years back as a big 30-something-year-old man.
No, I kid you. I remember a time I approached a young lady and the woman asked me, how tall are you? I said 5'8", 5'9" on a good day. Maybe 5'10" in a certain pair of shoes. Woman hit me with, nah, you too short. I can be taller than you in my heels. I said, wow. Okay, so
there's a lot of things that we touched on in recent conversation, right? And if women listen to this, I don't want it to come across as misogyny. But there's something totally wrong with like modern dating and what modern women see and like how you're supposed to show up as a man. And I think it's kind of add to everything else that a man that went through trauma will gotta deal with. And then it just comes to a point that you get into a space that, because I could travel with my girlfriend now and then everybody's be looking at me and be like, oh, he got a white girl now. And we can see looks, right? But what has happened, like the years pass and I was dating.
I want you to know, right? Bro, your relationship has even trickled over my side.
Go.
As in, oh, yeah, I see all your friends going white. You can go white too. I tell myself, why are y'all concerned with this?
As you said in the beginning, like, just live your life though, because there's always gonna be some sort of comment. You know what I
mean? There was a point I wanted to make. Yeah. And as you talk about not to sound misogynistic. Right? And my insides giggled a little bit. Right?
There's a free space.
Because and this is what bothers me about where we're at in the world. I know I understand that we're at the point of change. Our forefathers did not do a very good job as it relates to the women. They treated them terribly. We like to argue cause and effect. Okay, cool. Cause and effect. Right? And the fact that with change, there's always, when you're trying to change something, there's always a period of mess. If you change around your front house, what can happen? It can be a point in time, even if it's short, like the front house is in complete disarray. Agreed? That's where we're at in society right now. As it relates to the dating man and woman thing. You understand? And I remember saying, at this point now, I just feel oppressed. And if I say that to a woman, she looking at me like I am the worst thing in the world. How can you be feeling oppressed? Because anything I say, love, is taken as misogynistic. However, you're allowed to say whatever you feel like.
See, that's the thing. Like, I feel it comes down to connotation and denotation. Like, I feel like a lot of people use the word or use words now before understanding what the word really means.
There you go.
Right? Because obviously misogyny and stuff, or misandry, whatever, is like really hate for a person or a particular, right? But anything you do know that goes against something, like people would just label as, right? I'm saying like this content or whatever, as much as I'm sparking insight and stuff out of men, right? It's not to come across as what misogyny really is. You know what I mean? You may disagree with something that another person has to say. A woman may disagree with something that you have to say.
But it doesn't deserve the label.
You can stand on what you believe, though, but this is not a label to say that this is misogyny, right? That's it.
But as soon as you have to push back against the societal norm right now, because of said cause and effect, that's the label you get.
Yeah.
You understand? From a simple pushback, well, okay, I understand what you're saying, but check. Okay, let me give you an example. Not a real life scenario. You feel you as a man can be dating a young lady and tell her it's a deal breaker because you've never seen her cook?
I mean, my girlfriend is not a housewife or anything.
Okay,
I'm
understand.
not gonna label her as such.
Right.
But get into a relationship with her, right? There were a lot of things that was kind of like open on the table first.
But however, you understand that your girlfriend is not a housewife type girl.
Yeah.
She's a career driven woman.
But
right?
I said that to say like why I mentioned that is because we had conversations prior to dating, right?
Right.
And the conversations prior to dating involve stuff like, would you cook?
Okay, good.
Me? Or would you do as we say?
Good.
She may do 90% of the cooking, but it doesn't take away from the fact that she is willing to do it, and that I also would do. But to say that is a deal breaker. But we
didn't get to doing yet. Is what I'm trying to show you. I'm just trying to ask you as a man.
Right.
Are you comfortable or confident to open your mouth and say to a woman, I don't want to get with you because I've never seen you cook?
It's not a deal breaker for me. If I'm confident to say to a woman what my insecurities or what my deal breaker, so to speak, are.
So it's not a deal breaker for you.
It may not be that. It could be something else.
Okay.
But would I name what a deal breaker is? Yes.
In a world that is a deal breaker for you, are you?
If I'm confident.
Okay. Without and not be afraid of the labels that might come with it.
No, because I find like, again, not to get too deep or to go away from the topic, but I've had experiences in life. I've had experiences whereas not doing certain things meant, or taking care of your household or cleaning your household or cooking or whatever are life skills, right?
Correct.
I've left home at a very young age, and these are things I had to learn like pretty fast, right? You get into a relationship with somebody, you're not in a relationship with yourself.
Correct.
Right? There is like give and there's take. So this again is not to cast aside women I've been with or whatever, but you start to learn yourself in life experiences.
Correct.
Right? And with the learning comes understanding that, you know what, this is something I would not tolerate.
Correct.
You may not tolerate it in a man going forward. I am not going to tolerate said thing in a woman going forward. Okay. So then you seek out another relationship, right? And in doing that, unfortunately, you find yourself exposed and open to all these different relationships. And then you want either learn from what the past thing was, or you keep like reciprocating or perpetuating the same cycle, and you take that into another relationship.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I just say, you know what? I was not good in this area. Let me get better. Maybe I was not good in that area. Let me get better.
Okay.
So then the next relationship I go is in, if somebody presents something that I do not like, or that I dislike, or that I definitely know is going to be a deal breaker, I am going to say no, because then it starts a cycle again that I do not want to be a part of. So then when I get with my girlfriend, and we put all these things on the table, you know what? There's still some things I have to work on, yes. You may do most of the cooking, I may not. Yeah, I'm not I can cook, right? I'm not like a chef boy or whatever. Should you want a meal, should you need substance, I can do that because I know it's, if you need me to do something for you, sure. If you want to do something for me, sure. But to go into a household or to be with a person and you can't present certain life skills, then for sure is a deal breaker. Because like I cannot get with you. Because then it becomes like this. You know what I mean? Like I don't want that again. Because I've been through that like my entire arc.
Right.
So
my point of the question was tying back into the brands or the labeling of certain things said.
Then label me whatever.
But you know that was always you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But me, I'd be a little like I can't say that. True, because you know,
like it goes. I have to take it back to trauma. People say that your kid's gonna be black and star or whatever, and on one end of the stick is like, well, that's very hurtful, right? But it took me a while before I even got a therapy. So like I can only speak from this as like a man growing, right? It took me a while before I got a therapy, but what I can take from it is like, that may be something that somebody said to you. It doesn't need to be the thing that defines you, right? And that's
but it really isn't. That's
really isn't. I understand.
I was just a little shocked that a person, well, a woman, felt so comfortable telling a man that versus me as a man, I don't, because of the labels that would come with saying something like that. You understand? I would have to pay close attention to my diction and the way I put it across, as to not seem misogynistic or that I want a woman that can cook and clean for me. You understand?
Maybe. But here's the thing. Like, the conversation with Thorne was one about breaking bikes and, you know, all that stuff. And again, not to get too far, because we want to come and bring it to a close soon. But it's like, if a woman likes something and you can't provide it, then she can go off another man. So same with you. Like, if she doesn't like 5'8", 5'9", or whatever, then go and try to find 6'1", 6'2", especially, you know, being in Barbados, that might be a little hard to do, but like, find that. And if you can't find it, then so be it.
That's cool.
Again, not saying that you are, but, you know, not to be defined by labels or whatever is really something that I tend to work on. Because I mean, I could have let the other thing stick and all the other stuff stick, and I didn't. You know what I mean? So this is not a hateful podcast. So if anybody takes that, you know, you take it at take it at you.
There's no hate. It's just a little confusion.
You think the physical transformation that your body went through was some sort of emotional healing?
Yeah. Again, it brought me from, again, the point of not feeling worthy, and not just based on looks. It's like, this is something that a lot of people struggle to get done. And I did that. You understand? I think it's more that than how you really look.
It's a hard thing to do.
It is super hard. The dedication that comes with it, bro, to get the transformation. You understand? And I don't think you could broadcast that success loud enough. It is as big or even bigger success than getting a degree, to me. You understand? I think more people in the world have degrees than are within their BMI or close there. So doesn't that mean it's harder to do? Who knows? Or maybe people just pay more attention to the degree than the degree of their body. You understand? They place more value on the paper than the physical. But what is a car full of gas with a bad engine?
What would you say to a man willing to express style and fashion and step into fitness and stuff, all your stuff that we talked about, but also fears judgment?
Back to my hashtag, why not, bro? Just do it. Just do it. Like, no matter what you do, somebody can say something. So do. Do or not do. Because it is better to get talked about for doing than to get talked about for being the bum. So just do it.
If you had to complete the sentence, like, you dress, you put on stuff with intent or intention. So when I dress with intention, I feel blank. If you had to fill in the blank, like if you had like a word or a phrase, you put on a fit today.
I feel like a king.
Feel like a king.
Feel like a king. Plain and simple.
All right, King Rommell, no. Looking back at 15-year-old Rommell, or you had the opportunity to talk to 15-year-old self, a younger version of yourself, like, what would you tell him? And with certain things in mind, right? Appearance, fitness, growth. Like, these are things that I think were like all themes in the stuff that we talking about for the entire day. And that's something that he clearly struggled with, right? So 15-year-old Rommell, what would you tell him?
Yikes. Do your work now, bro. Do your work now. Because it's hard to catch up. Whatever your work is. I did not do well in school, even though I went to Queen's College.
Right.
I don't feel like I did well. Again, because I wasn't into the books. And I came up in a society that didn't pay very close attention to sports.
Yeah, right? This is very academic.
You understand? Mm-hmm. And I also had a father that was very academic. I didn't really think one would excel in sports.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying he used to hold me back or anything, but he was more focused on the books and trying to beat the books into me, and that wasn't the way.
Right.
But I would try to find a way to tell that kid that's going to get you to the sports you want to play because of where you live. Or I would tell him, try to get from here. Do whatever you need to do to get from here, because to excel in what you are good at, it may not happen here. It's going to be very difficult for it to happen here. So you need to get elsewhere.
All right.
And getting elsewhere was via the book. So I would have had to find some way to get that message across to you. I don't know how. I really don't know how.
This is how. This is how.
Yeah.
This is not to, before I say this, let me say what I can say now. Throughout the podcast, throughout this session, we mentioned how close we were before. But I think what people don't see is that we kind of took a split, right?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. The relationship necessarily wasn't the same since that happened, right? Since we cool, but we weren't like
like every day. Every day. Talk like every day.
And obviously for different reasons too. Like we all got different paths to go on, right? And I'll say this. Initially, in the mindset I had before, I was one to not understand. I was one to think or feel that if it isn't done a certain way, then it isn't done right. Okay. You know what I mean? Not necessarily I need to be my way, but I can't see another way to get to this road. So, you know, you need to like everybody needs to be on the same page, right? And I'm saying this before having to dive into like stuff that happened between you and I. However, like I look on your social media and see stuff that you're doing and see the promotion and stuff that and where you achieve, right? And just to say this, I don't think that you need to play catch up. I think you could stay in your lane and just keep working and striving and growing, which is something that you've been doing. And something I had to do too, just in my own way, right?
You're doing it too, though. Yeah.
So this is me giving you the flowers because there are times that I found that I was either too blinded by my own ways. Not necessarily what I got going on, but the way in which I want to do something, we probably weren't like meeting on the same level to do it. And then I felt as though, like we can't see eye to eye. Whereas I'm not the one into fashion, but you are. I'm not the one into promoting and stuff, but you are. But it still ties in with the elements of who you are, the confidence of who you are. And then I got my own things to do, right? So I say that to say like, whether it's sports, whether it's fitness, whether it's fashion, like just do you, bro. And I feel like now I can see you. You know what I mean? Like now I see you. Before I didn't.
Okay.
But now I can. And because I can, like I wish the best for you. I wish success for you. And I wish that in some way, like the hurt and the trauma and stuff that you had before it could like subside as you keep pushing through the things that you know that you put your hands to. And again, like nothing but success and support to you all the time.
For sure. With that being said, like
hold on.
Okay.
So as your younger self or any other man to listen to this going forward, regardless of seeing you as Shark King, Black Boy, whatever the title might be, I definitely want them to see you as King. I definitely want them to see you as somebody growing, somebody who you may think is not a finished product yet, but you're working towards it.
Correct.
And, like, regardless of whatever that 15-year-old boy or girl or whoever may listen to this may need, you chart a course. And if that doesn't work, like, there's always something.
There's always something. Just keep
going.
going.
Just keep going. Moving. Yeah.
Yeah, but piggybacking on what you said, I think I've probably told you this before, but we would have met. I can't remember the year. I'm not even going to study the year. We met in the work environment, and you were my supervisor when we met. at the point in time.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. Right? And it was something you said to me. And yeah, you say you see me now, but you saw me then. You don't know see me. You understand? You look at me and you said something real that I really knew I needed to work on. You said to me, you need to be able to relay the negative. You don't like to talk about your negative, Rommell. If you have to tell a customer something and it's not what they want to hear, you still have to tell them it. And it was real. It was real. And that wasn't just in work.
That was in life.
That was in life. And that's when I knew, like, all right, there's a man that I gotta get so big. Because he found a way in a role over me to tell me something and it not come across as condescending. But it be true.
Yeah.
And I heard it. You could tell me if I wrong or not.
Nah.
But I heard it. And I say, you know what? This man right. And I think that's the foundation that our friendship was built on. Yes, we had our differences. Yes, we, as you say, we think. But again, there's nothing but love, nothing but support. And from that day, it was like, this is my guy. From you telling me something negative, bro. Not you gassing me. From you telling me, hey, this is what you need to work on.
Yeah.
And it not come across frigga. That's all I need to say. And yeah, you doing your thing, dog. You know, I always tell you, always in your ear, like she's,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's one thing we can tell with one another is, keep doing you, bro. Keep doing you.
I think we can bring it to a close, yeah. But before we bring it to a close, you can let the people know, like, where to follow you, where to find you.
Everything not normal with a dot between the not.
Just unique.
Yeah. That's the IG name.
And shout
TikTok.
out, shout out your
shout out
brand,
Guava Club.
Wanted events.
Big
Many
up
net
GQ.
savvy dropping.
Ah, boy. The net savvy
It's
is
a
up in the
party.
air. We would like to do something for the people later in the year.
Well,
But
yeah, let me know because, you know, obviously.
you can be a little bit more seasoned in the daddy thing and you might be able to pop back out. I know.
Correct.
I know. But
yeah.
yeah, I gotta big up those guys. I gotta big up Blacks for seeing something in me, approaching me. It was something I wanted to do from young.
Yeah.
Somebody reminded me of that. Especially when it came to throwing this LAN event. She said she remembers when we were 17, 18 and we were going to Club Extreme and I made the both statements one day, one whole party.
And you're doing it.
And you know.
Right.
You understand? As you say, like, the path ain't a straight road.
Yeah.
But I remember every junction of my life, I would say, I want to be that man there. And it became that man. Even if it wasn't the prime minister, it could be somebody as simple as, I want to be the man driving where the sports car app flow. Cause I like cell phones and I like technology. That's what I want to do. And it became that man.
Yeah.
I want to be the man jumping up crop over there with 8 abs. And it became that man. I want to be a man at throwing parties. Became that man. You understand? It might not be the dreams that people is writing books nor nothing.
It's yours though.
It's mine.
Yeah.
It's mine, and I rather survive and be good doing something or things I love than to be pissing rich and miserable. You understand?
Yeah.
So all I can say is I know that right now I'm in a place that I'm doing everything I love. And that's why I'm probably present as happy-go-lucky. I can't say that I don't got my bad days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm doing everything I love. Every single thing I love, bro.
I like that. Yeah. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Barbell Conversations. Stay tuned for the next episode. And you know where to find me. Barbell Convo Paul. Breadfruit on social media. It's Breadfruit season.
All the time.
All the time.